I need to get this off my chest because it's been eating me alive for months. This is going to be long, and I am splitting it into parts because there's just too much to process. I'll probably delete this later, but right now I need strangers on the internet to tell me I am not going crazy. My wife Sarah and I have been married for 12 years. She had my stepson Jake when she was just 17, teen pregnancy, typical story. The bio dad was never in the picture. I met her when Jake was 3, and I've been his father figure ever since. I legally adopted him when he turned 8. That kid means everything to me. Sarah was always difficult. I overlooked a lot because I loved her and Jake needed stability. She's selfish, manipulative, and has this way of making everything about her. But she's also beautiful and charming when she wants to be. Classic manipulation tactics that I was too young and stupid to recognize back then. By the time Jake hit high school, our marriage had gone cold. We were more like roommates than spouses. Sarah complained constantly. About me, about our house, about being stuck in our small town. She'd make these cutting remarks about how she could have done better if she hadn't gotten pregnant so young. Real supportive wife material, right? Jake was struggling in school, particularly with math. He's a bright kid but has some learning difficulties. Sarah suggested getting him a tutor. That's when Marcus entered our lives. Marcus was 28, taught at the community college, and did private tutoring on the side. Good-looking guy, I'll admit. Confident, well-spoken, the kind of person who commands attention when he walks into a room. Jake immediately connected with him in a way I'd never seen before. His grades started improving, his confidence grew. I was genuinely grateful. The sessions were at our house twice a week. Sarah would always make sure to be around when Marcus came over, dressed nicer than usual, laughing at his jokes. I noticed but didn't think much of it at first. I trusted my wife. I trusted the man I was paying to help my son. Looking back, there were signs everywhere. Sarah started working out more, buying new clothes, getting her hair done frequently. She mentioned Marcus in conversation. Marcus said this, Marcus thinks that. She volunteered to handle all communication with him about Jake's progress. When I suggested switching to online sessions to save money, she insisted in person was better for Jake's learning style. The worst part? She was probably right about that last bit. Jake was thriving under Marcus's guidance. As a father, I was torn between gratitude and this growing unease I couldn't quite name. Sarah began going out more often, girls' nights, that seemed to happen with increasing frequency. She'd come home late, sometimes slightly disheveled, always with elaborate explanations about where she'd been and who she'd seen. When I ask questions, she'd get defensive and turn it around on me for being controlling and insecure. I started feeling like a stranger in my own home. Sarah was distant. Jake was often busy with his studies, and I was working longer hours to avoid the tension. I convinced myself this was just a rough patch. All marriages go through them, right? Then came the night that changed everything. I'll never forget Jake's face when he found out the truth about his mother. It was a Tuesday evening in March. I was working late at the office, trying to finish quarterly reports. Jake had a tutoring session with Marcus that day, but it was supposed to end by 6 p.m. I got home around 8:30, expecting to find them having dinner or Jake doing homework. The house was quiet, too quiet. Jake's backpack was in the hallway, but no sign of him or Sarah. I called out, "Nothing." That's when I heard it. Muffled sounds coming from upstairs. At first, I thought maybe Jake was sick and Sarah was taking care of him. I started up the stairs and that's when I heard Jake sobbing. Not crying, sobbing. The kind of broken, gut-wrenching sobs that make your chest hurt just listening to them. He was in his room with the door cracked open. "Jake, what's wrong, buddy?" I pushed the door open and found him sitting on his bed, clutching his phone, tears streaming down his face. He looked up at me with this expression I'll never forget, pure devastation mixed with disgust and betrayal. "Dad," he choked out. I can, He couldn't, form complete sentences. I sat down next to him and he immediately collapsed against me, shaking. It took 20 minutes to get the story out of him between sobs. Marcus had left his phone in Jake's room during their session. Jake found it and was going to bring it downstairs when it started buzzing with notifications. The screen lit up with messages. Messages from my wife. Explicit messages. Photos. Videos. Months' worth of correspondence between my wife and my son's tutor. Jake had seen everything. Every dirty text. Every nude photo. Every plan they made to meet up while I was at work or Jake was at school. But here's the part that still makes me sick to my stomach. They had been meeting in our house. In our bed. Sarah would send Jake to the library or to friends' houses, then text Marcus to come over. Sometimes right after his tutoring sessions ended. My son's tutor was screwing my wife in the bed I slept in, probably while Jake's textbooks were still warm on the kitchen table. Jake showed me some of the messages. I wish he hadn't, but I needed to see the proof. Sarah called Marcus baby and talked about how exciting it was to risk it all. She complained about me constantly, called me boring, said I was a safe choice she settled for, claimed she felt alive again with Marcus. She even joked about how clueless I was. The worst message was one where Marcus worried about Jake finding out. Sarah's response? Jake's just a kid. He'll get over it. Besides, he loves you more than his real dad anyway, so even if he tells my name, it won't matter much. My wife, talking about her own son like he was disposable, like his feelings didn't matter as long as she got what she wanted. Jake was destroyed. He kept saying, "I am sorry, Dad," over and over, like any of this was his fault. This 15-year-old kid was apologizing to me for his mother's betrayal. He felt guilty for snooping through the phone, guilty for telling me, guilty for ruining everything. I held him while he cried and promised him that none of this was his fault. Sarah came home around 10 p.m., humming some song and looking satisfied with herself. She took one look at us sitting on the couch. Jake's eyes red and swollen, me holding Marcus's phone, and her face went white. "It's not what you think," were the first words out of her mouth. Classic cheater response. For those asking in DMs, yes, I saved everything before confronting her. I am not stupid. It's not what you think. That's what Sarah said when she walked in and saw us with Marcus's phone. Even caught red-handed, she was still trying to manipulate the situation. I stood up slowly, keeping my voice calm for Jake's sake. "What is it then, Sarah? Because what I think is that you've been having an affair with our son's tutor. In our house, in our bed, while Jake was supposed to be getting help with his education." She looked at Jake, then back at me, and I watched her cycle through different strategies in real time. First, denial. You being ridiculous. Marcus and I are just friends. Then, when I held up the phone, she switched to minimization. It's not that serious. We were just talking. When I started reading her messages out loud, including the one about Jake being just a kid who would get over it, she finally dropped the act. "Fine. Yes, we've been seeing each other. Are you happy now?" She was getting angry, like we were the ones being unreasonable. "Do you want to know why? Because I am dying here. I've been trapped in this boring life, with this boring marriage, in this boring town since I was 17 years old." Jake flinched like she slapped him. Because she had, really. She just called his entire existence, our entire family, boring and trap-like. I told Jake to go to his room. He didn't want to leave me alone with her, but I needed him to not hear what was coming next. After he left, Sarah really let loose. "You want to know the truth? Marcus makes me feel alive. He makes me feel desirable and interesting and like I am more than just some teenage mother who settled for the first nice guy who came along. She was pacing now, working herself up. I never got to be young and free because I had Jake so early. I never got to date around or figure out who I was. And now I finally have someone who sees me as more than just a mom and a wife. So you decided to destroy our family for some midlife crisis? I asked. That's when she really showed her true colors. Our family? Jake isn't even your biological son. You adopted him because you felt sorry for us. And now you reacting like you have some claim on him? They never wanted to hit someone more in my life. Never, but I just stood there and let her keep talking, because I knew every word was sealing her fate in any custody hearing. And another thing, you not exactly husband of the year material. When's the last time you surprised me with anything? When's the last time you made me feel special? Marcus brings me flowers. He writes me poetry. He makes me laugh. What do? You come home, eat dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. You like a roommate who pays half the bills. I worked extra hours to pay for Jake's tutoring, I said quietly. I worked late so you could afford the gym membership you wanted. The new clothes, the salon appointments. I was paying for you to look good for your boyfriend. She actually laughed. Oh, please. You worked late because you boring and work is the only place where people think you important. That's when Jake appeared at the top of the stairs. He'd been listening. His face was pale and he looked sick. Mom, stop, he said quietly. Just stop. Sarah looked up at him and for a second, I thought maybe she realized what she was doing to her own son. Maybe she show some maternal instinct. Instead, she doubled down. Jake, you old enough to understand that sometimes adults make choices. Your dad and I, we not happy together. We haven't been for years. This doesn't mean I love you any less. But you said I was a trap, Jake whispered. You said your life was boring because of me. That's not what I meant. Yes it is. Jake's voice was getting stronger, angrier. You think I am stupid? You think I don't understand what they been doing? They been screwing my tutor and lying to everyone and now you trying to make it Dad's fault? Sarah's mask finally slipped completely. Watch your mouth, young man. I am still your mother. Are you? Jake asked. Because a real mother wouldn't do this to her family. That broke something in Sarah. She turned vicious. When Jake asked if Sarah was really his mother, something snapped in her. The woman I'd been married to for 12 years disappeared, and what was left was pure poison. You want to know what a real mother is, Jake? A real mother sacrifices everything for her kids. I gave up my entire youth for you. I could have given you up for adoption, but I didn't. I could have aborted you, but I didn't. And this is the thanks I get? You snooping through phones and judging me? Jake stumbled backward like she punched him. I started toward the stairs, but Sarah wasn't done. You think you so mature and righteous? You 15 years old and they never had to make a real decision in your life. Everything has been handed to you. A father who isn't even your real dad but treats you better than most biological fathers. A nice house, good schools, and you want to lecture me about choices? Sarah, stop, I warned, but she was in full narcissistic rage mode now. No, let's put it all out there. You want to know why I am with Marcus? Because he doesn't make me feel like I am dying inside. Because when I am with him, I am not just Jake's mom or your wife. I am Sarah. Remember her? The girl who had dreams before she got knocked up by some loser who ran away the second he found out I was pregnant. Jake was crying again, but these weren't the broken sobs from earlier. These were angry tears. I never asked you to sacrifice anything, he said through gritted teeth. And I never asked him to adopt me either. But at least he chose to love me. You act like loving your own kid is some huge burden. Sarah's response will haunt me forever. Some days it is. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Sarah seemed to realize she crossed a line you can never uncross. Jake just stared at her for a long moment, then turned and went to his room. I heard his door slam, then the sound of him moving furniture in front of it. "Jake, wait," Sarah called after him, but it was too late. She just told her own son that loving him was sometimes a burden. In front of the man who chosen to be his father. "Are you happy now?" I asked her. "Was it worth it? Was your affair worth destroying your relationship with your son?" She turned on me then. "Don, you dare act like the victim here. You think you such a saint? You adopted Jake because it made you feel good about yourself. You married me because you wanted to play hero to the teenage mother. It was never about love, it was about your savior complex." "Even if that were true," I said, "at least I never made Jake feel like he was a mistake." That when she hit me, actually slapped me across the face, hard enough that my cheek stung and my ears rang. "You self-righteous asshole," she hissed. "You think you know everything? You want to know what Marcus told me? He said I deserve better than this. He said I am wasting my life on people who don't appreciate me." I touched my cheek and felt a trickle of blood where her wedding ring had caught the skin. Is that what he tells all the married women he sleeps with? At least he sees me as a woman instead of just a wife and mother. When's the last time you looked at me? Really looked at me, like you wanted me? When's the last time you gave me a reason to? I shot back. You've been cold and distant for years. You complain about everything I do, criticize everything I say, and apparently you've been telling your boyfriend how boring and worthless I am. Why exactly should I be falling all over myself to romance you?" She opened her mouth to respond, but that's when we heard Jake's bedroom door open. He came downstairs carrying a suitcase. "I am going to Grandma's," he announced, not looking at either of us. Sarah panicked. "Jake, no, we can work this out. We're a family." Jake finally looked at her, and his expression was completely blank. "No, we're not. You made that pretty clear." He walked past both of us toward the front door. I followed him. "Jake, wait, let's talk about this." He turned to me, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began, he looked calm. "Dad, I love you. And I know this isn't your fault. But I can't be in the same house as her right now. I need time to think. I understand. But Jake, none of what she said tonight was true. You're not a burden. You never were." He nodded, but I could see he didn't quite believe it yet. "I know you love me, Dad. That's the only thing keeping me together right now." He left. My son, the best thing that ever happened to me, left because his mother destroyed our family for a fling. After Jake left, Sarah and I stood in our living room like strangers. The house felt different, emptier, colder. The silence stretched on until she finally spoke. "He'll come back," she said, but her voice was shaky. "He's just upset. Kids say things they don't mean when they emotional. Sarah, you told our son that loving him is sometimes a burden. Kids don't get over hearing that from their mother. I didn't mean it like that. I was angry. People say things." "No," I cut her off. "You meant every word. You've been thinking it for years, and tonight you finally said it out loud." She tried a different approach then, tears. Suddenly she was the victim again. "I am sorry, okay? I know I messed up. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. Marcus was just a phase. A mistake that lasted months. A mistake you planned and orchestrated. A mistake you bragged about in text messages. I'll end it with him. I'll block his number. We can start over." I looked at this woman I shared a bed with for over a decade and realized I didn't know her at all. Do you even hear yourself? You're not sorry you had the affair. You're sorry you got caught. That night, I slept in the guest room. Sarah tried to come in around 2 a.m., claiming she couldn't sleep and wanting to talk more. I told her through the locked door that we done enough talking for one night. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Sarah's mother's house. Jake was in the kitchen, looking like he hadn't slept. His grandmother, Linda, gave me a long hug and whispered, "I am so sorry. I knew something was wrong with Sarah lately, but I never imagined." Jake and I talked for hours. He blamed himself for everything. For finding the phone, for telling me, for ruining the family. It broke my heart. I kept reassuring him that he done nothing wrong, that he was brave for telling the truth, that I was proud of him. "Dad, what's going to happen now?" he asked. "I don't know, buddy. But whatever happens, you and I are going to be okay. That's a promise." When I got home, Sarah was gone. Her car was in the driveway, but she wasn't in the house. I found a note on the kitchen counter. "Gone to think. Back tonight. We need to talk." I spent the day calling lawyers and researching divorce proceedings. I also did something Sarah probably didn't expect. I called Marcus. "Hello?" His voice was cautious. He probably saw my name on caller ID. "We need to talk," I said simply. "Look, man, I can explain." "No explanations. Just facts. How long has this been going on?" There was a long pause. "Since January. 3 months. 3 months of lies, sneaking around, and planning their little rendezvous while I paid for his tutoring services." "Are you in love with her?" I asked. Another pause. "It's complicated." "It's really not. Are you planning to leave your girlfriend for my wife?" "What girlfriend?" he asked, confused. "Sarah told me you single. But your Facebook says you in a relationship with someone named Emma. She works at the bank downtown." The silence told me everything. Marcus had been lying to Sarah too. "Does Emma know about Sarah?" I pressed. "Jesus, no. Look, Sarah and it's not what you think. What I think is that you a coward who preys on married women and lies to everyone involved. What I think is that you never had any intention of being with Sarah long-term." "Sarah knew what this was," he said defensively. "She's a grown woman who made her own choices. Sarah is delusional and selfish, but you a predator. You targeted a vulnerable married woman, encouraged her to destroy her family, and now you going to walk away while the rest of us deal with the wreckage." I hung up and immediately called Emma at the bank. That conversation was brief but enlightening. She had no idea Marcus was seeing anyone else, and she was very interested in hearing about his tutoring sessions with married women. Sarah came home around 8 p.m. to find me sitting at the kitchen table with divorce papers. "What is this?" she asked, though she obviously knew. "Your freedom," I said. "Isn't that what you wanted?" Sarah stared at the divorce papers like they were written in a foreign language. "You can be serious. We've been together for 15 years. And you threw it all away for a guy who's been lying to you the entire time," I replied. "Did you know Marcus has a girlfriend? Emma from the bank? They've been together for 2 years. The color drained from her face. "That's impossible. He told me he was single. He said he was falling in love with me. He lied, Sarah, just like you lied to me. Just like you both lied to Jake." She sank into a chair, and for the first time since this whole mess started, she looked genuinely shattered. He said he wanted to be with me. He said we could be together once I figured things out with you. And you believed him? A man who was willing to sleep with a married woman in her own home told you he was trustworthy?" The next few hours were a blur of her cycling through the stages of grief. Denial. "This is all a misunderstanding." Anger. "You trying to turn everyone against me." Bargaining. "What if we moved away? Started fresh somewhere new?" Depression. Long silences and staring at the wall. She never quite reached acceptance. The divorce took 4 months. Sarah fought it initially, but her lawyer advised her to settle when he saw the evidence I had. Text messages, photos, videos, everything Marcus had saved on his phone painted a clear picture of premeditation and betrayal. The custody hearing was brutal. Sarah's own words came back to haunt her, especially the message about Jake being just a kid who would get over it, and her admission that loving him was sometimes a burden. Jake, now 16, was old enough to testify about what he witnessed and heard that night. The judge was not sympathetic to Sarah's tears or excuses. "I got primary custody. Sarah got supervised visitation every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer, assuming Jake agreed to see her. He didn't, for the first 6 months. Here's where the story gets interesting though, and why I'm calling this the final update. Marcus's world imploded too. Emma didn't just dump him. She made their breakup very public. Small towns talk, and soon everyone knew about the college instructor who seduced his student's married mother. The community college launched an investigation. They couldn't fire him for the affair itself, but they found enough ethics violations and boundary issues to force his resignation. He moved 3 towns over. Last I heard, he was working at a chain restaurant and living with his parents. But Sarah's story took a turn no one saw coming. About 2 months after the divorce was finalized, she showed up at my door. She looked terrible, thin, hollow-eyed, like she hadn't been sleeping. She wanted to explain everything and make things right. That's when she told me the truth I wish I never learned. The affair with Marcus wasn't her first. There had been others over the years. A coworker when Jake was 12. Her personal trainer when Jake was 13. A married neighbor when Jake was 14. Marcus was just the one who got caught. "I don't know why I do it," she said, crying. "I love Jake. I loved you. But I felt so trapped, so invisible. These men made me feel special, desired. I know it's wrong, but I couldn't stop. She'd been systematically destroying our family for years, and I'd been too trusting or too stupid to see it. The final blow came when she admitted that she'd been planning to leave me anyway. She'd been saving money in a secret account, preparing to take Jake and start over somewhere new. The affair with Marcus wasn't a moment of weakness. It was an exit strategy that backfired when she realized he was using her. "I was going to take Jake away from you," she sobbed. "But seeing how much you two love each other, seeing how he chose you over me, I realized I'd already lost him long before that night." I felt nothing listening to her confession. No anger, no sadness, no relief. Just emptiness. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because I am leaving. Moving across the country. Starting over where no one knows me. And I wanted you to know that despite everything, you were a good husband and an amazing father. Jake is lucky to have you." She left town 2 weeks later. Jake chose not to say goodbye. That was 8 months ago. Jake is thriving now. Honor roll, varsity baseball, even dating a nice girl from his chemistry class. He still has trust issues and sees a therapist weekly, but he's healing. We both are. Sarah sends birthday and Christmas cards, but Jake usually throws them away unopened. He says maybe someday he'll be ready to forgive her, but not yet. I support whatever he decides. As for me, I am learning to trust again. Started dating someone recently. A teacher at Jake's school who's patient, kind, and everything Sarah wasn't. Jake approves, which means everything to me. The house feels lighter now. We rebuilding something new from the wreckage Sarah left behind, and honestly, we happier than we've been in years. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel and watch the next videos.